Hi everyone, it's Bethany, and in this video we are going to be making some Infusible Ink ceramic coasters with the Cricut Joy. So I thought it would be really fun to make some fall coasters because the weather is changing and my favorite season is here, and so I thought it would be really fun to do a little fall design and make a set of 4 coasters. So I have the little Infusible Ink compatible coasters that come from Cricut, and they come in a pack of 4, so we're going to be using those. And because I'm going to be using my Joy, I have my green standard grip mat for the Joy. That's what's recommended for using Infusible Ink. If you have the longer mat and you're going to be making 4 coasters, it's a lot easier just because you can put more coasters and cut more coasters at the same time. But I only have the shorter one, so that's fine. I just have to feed my mat in a few more times, but that's just fine. And then I have a piece of cardstock. I have my Easypress mat, and then I have a lint-free cloth that I'm going to use to wipe down my coasters. And then the Infusible Ink color that I'm going to be using is called Warm Gray. And I do have it in the large sheets, but that's just fine. You can always trim them down for the Cricut Joy. I'm also going to be pressing the Infusible Ink onto the coasters with my Easypress 2, and I'm going to be using my 9x9. That way I can go ahead and press all of them at the same time. So before we hop into Design Space and start designing the design for all 4 coasters, let me do our little question of the day. It's really been fun to listen, or I guess read, all of your little responses, so I'm excited to hear your responses for this question. So for this question, we are going to be chatting about, do you tend to crave sweet or salty? Okay, so as I'm crafting today, be sure to head down into the comment section and answer if you tend to crave sweet or salty. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop into Cricut Design Space. I'll leave this out so I remember to answer myself. And I'm going to show you just the designs that I'm going to be placing and designing for these coasters. I think they're going to be really, really cute. And I think that this is going to be a fun project that's going to really get everybody in the mood for fall.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Shapes, and I am going to select the circle because I'm going to be making a template for the ceramic coasters so that I know how much space I have to work with and how to design and size my designs. So I'm going to come up here to the size, and I am going to say 3.5 inches because that is the size of my coasters. I'll go ahead and make them white just visually for visual purposes, and then I'm going to go over here to the layers panel at the top, and there's a duplicate button, and I'm going to press that 3 times so that I have a total of 4 circles, and this is going to be my 4 coasters. So I'm going to put a different design on each one, but this is where I'm going to get started. So I'm going to go over to my uploads because I did purchase a little SVG that I thought would be cute. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and insert images. And this is going to be on my first coaster. So I can just set that right here. The rest of the 3 coasters are going to have different little images and little themes on them that I think all coordinate really well together. But the following 3 will all be made out of images right here in the Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to go click on images. The first thing I'm going to search for is pumpkin, and I'll type that in, select enter. There's 817 results, so you're bound to find something that you love. And I'm just going to scroll through here and see which one I would like the best. So I'm going to select this one right here. So I'm just going to click the pumpkin, and then it's going to add it to my little queue down here, and it allows me to continue searching for other things that I would like. So the next thing I'm going to search for is going to be, the next one actually is called berry embellishment. I actually have seen this and it looks really neat. So I'm going to type in berry embellishment, and it's this first one right here. And honestly, it's already a circular design, so it's going to be super easy to get ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. It's going to add it right next to my pumpkin to allow me to continue searching for other things. And then the next thing I'm going to type in is going to be, I think I'm just going to type in leaf, or maybe leaves. Maybe I'll do plural. Okay, and then I'm going to just search through here and find the few that I would like to use. So the first one is this right here. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to continue browsing until I find another that I like. And I'm also going to use this right here. And then I think the final one that I'm going to use is not going to be in the leaves category, but is instead, I'm going to type in holly branch, and I'm going to use this right here. Okay, so I have all of my selections down here. I can go ahead and say insert images. And it's just going to take just a moment because I have quite a few. And then I'm just going to kind of drag them over to where I'm going to be placing them. So I'll put all the leaves over here. This one's going to be very, very simple to get going. And then this one right here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start getting everything ready. So for this one, I am going to unlock this, and then I am going to just kind of drag it down and give this a little bit more of a circular look, and that actually looks pretty good just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I actually want the words to be cut out of the circle, if that makes sense, and the Infusible ink is going to be the background. So you can do this two ways. You could have the Infusible ink be the actual letters and have it go onto a white ceramic circle, or you could have it, you could slice it out and then make sure, and then it would have the Infusible ink be most of it. You guys will see what I mean in just a moment. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to select them, and I'm going to align and say center, center. Okay, and that doesn't look quite right to me, so I'm just going to center that myself. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and select both, and then I'm going to come down here, and I actually need to go ahead and just weld all of this together. I was going to come down to hit slice, but the slice button does not highlight right now, and that is because if you look at this SVG, it has multiple layers in it. So before I do anything, I need to grab this whole SVG over here in the layers panel and just weld it together so that it is now one layer. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and select both of them, and now I have two layers, one right here, two right here, and then I can click slice. So now what's going to happen is it's going to slice out that design out of the circle. So now my Infusible ink will be this entire circle, and I will weed out the little centers. So this is a good option if you want a really, really colorful Infusible ink coaster. You guys will see more when we get to pressing on why I did it that way, and you can always do it the other way too. It's completely your choice. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete both of these. Okay, and then the second one is going to be very, very easy to get ready. So I am going to just size that how I'd like it, and I actually don't want it to go all the way to the edge of my coaster. I want to have a little bit of a white edge. So I'm just going to size that up, but give myself a little buffer around the edge there. Just like that. Okay, so now that I have that size, this is going to be the file that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this because this was essentially just a template. Okay, then the next one I'm going to do is this pumpkin. Really, really cute. I'm going to make it a lot bigger. And let's see, just about there. Looks good to my eye. And then what I'm going to do again is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to weld this together so it's just one piece. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight both, and I'm going to slice just like I did with my first one. And that's going to allow me to just slice the design out, and then this is going to be what I cut out, and then all of this space here is going to be the Infusible ink. Again, you guys will see that in a little bit. And then I'm going to delete my little slice results. And then this final one, I'm going to do something kind of interesting on here. What I'm going to do first is, let's see, I might duplicate this just in case I need a second one. I'm not sure if I'm going to need one yet. But what I'm going to do is I am going to just kind of place these kind of around this little circle here. And I'm just going to create like a little design here and just kind of freestyle it here and just kind of create something kind of fun. So I'm just took a variety of leaves and kind of kept them all different, and then I'm just going to kind of just keep placing them on here, and then I'm going to turn this one, make that a little bit smaller, and then bring that right in here. So I thought this would be kind of fun just to do something a little bit different. Let's see. And have it just be really leafy. And I thought this actually tied in really well with this leaf over here. So I thought it would look really nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to select all 3 of my leaves. I am going to weld them together now that I have them on there where I would like them. And then I'm going to go ahead and I have to decide whether I want to do which way I want my infusible ink to go. If I want my leaves to be my infusible ink or if I want the background to be my infusible ink. So first of all, let's go ahead and slice this. And then what that's going to do is it's going to leave us a little piece here that is going to be, oops, I can either use this one or this one. So I guess I didn't need my extra here, so I can delete that. And delete this. Okay, so this is kind of an example of how you can do it 2 different ways. So you can have it print this way or cut out this way, and then all of this would be your infusible ink, and then the rest would cut out. Let me make this the gray color, and then you guys can really see what I'm talking about. So if I made this a gray, like I'm doing. So this was what your coaster could look like, or this is what your coaster could look like, if that makes sense. So you just have to pick which design you like. I'm going to go with this because I think this way you're going to have a lot of infusible ink. I think that's going to look really, really nice. This is still equally as beautiful, but I think this is going to be just super, super pretty. It'd be kind of cool to do both of them actually and just kind of have an inverse. But what you could do is you could take out your pieces, and you guys will see when I weed, you could take out the pieces and then keep them and make the inverse as well. So I think I'm going to do it this way. I think it's going to be super, super pretty. So I'll go ahead and delete this one, and then I'm going to make this the nice gray color too, so you can see what that will look like. So it'll be the gray infusible ink around it, and this will be the area that the infusible ink does not cover. Again, this will be gray as well, and then this will be gray as well. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. It's kind of just a little background noise into what my thought process is when I'm designing, but that's going to be my 4 little coasters. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, select my Cricut Joy, and then I'm going to say make it. So I am going to say that I'm using a mat, and I am going to say done because then you're going to have to use a mat for the infusible ink. So I am going to have to place it on 4 separate mats just because of the size. It won't allow me to fit 2. If you had the longer green mat, then you would be able to fit 2 on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select continue. Actually, before anything else, don't forget you have to mirror it because it's like iron-on essentially. So you want to mirror your infusible ink. So I'm going to go through each mat and I'm going to mirror it just like this. Okay, I'm going to double check everything has been mirrored. Okay, looks good. And then I'm going to say continue. Okay, now it's going to locate my Joy via Bluetooth. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into Browse All Material, and I'm going to just scroll down to Infusible Ink. And it's right under the iron-on category, and I'm just going to say Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. So I'll go ahead and say done, and then it says make sure that mirror is turned on and the material is ink side up. So it's going to remind you there for the mirror. So if you forget, kind of like I was just about to in the last screen, it does give you a little alert here to remind you. Okay, we're just going to be using our regular fine point blade, and we're going to start loading our mats and cutting down our material to fit through the Joy.
Okay, so I just opened my infusible ink box, and then inside you will see that there is a little black pouch with your infusible ink inside, and inside that you'll find your infusible ink sheets, and then you will also have some butcher paper that they provide. And they provide 1 sheet per 1 sheet of infusible ink, so it's really awesome. So I had some extra from another project I was using, which is going to work out really good. So I am going to cut these into 4x4 inch squares just to have enough space, make sure I have enough, and I believe that I have 4 inches left over here long ways. Yes, I do. Okay, so this is actually perfect. This is a wonderful way to use some scrap pieces. I'm trying to remember the other project that I did with these. So with infusible ink, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have really dry hands that are clean. So you want to make sure you clean your hands, make sure they're free from any oil or lotions or anything like that. Make sure they're really, really dry because this is actual ink. So if you have anything on your hands, it will smudge it, and then that will just take the ink right off. So I'm just going to, again, cut these into little 4x4 squares, and then I'm going to have to cut into obviously another sheet, but I'm really thankful that I got to use the extras for this, so that's really exciting. Good little project for scraps for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and start loading one of them because it'll just help to get one cutting while I get everything else ready. So with Infusible Ink, you are going to place it ink side up on the mat, and on the back you'll just see a little grid, and it also will say what it is, which is the Infusible Ink. And then you're just going to place it ink side up. This is why you mirror your image. And then I just kind of just lay it down, press it down. You can use a brayer tool if you'd like, and then auto load it right into the joy. Okay, so now I am going to just go ahead and click go, and while that's cutting, I will go ahead and trim down my last little piece, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, so once I've cut all of my Infusible Ink, what I like to do is I just like to tuck my little scraps right back into the roll here, because you want to make sure you store all of your scraps together and in this black pouch again. You just want to make sure that you keep it in a really dark and moist free place. So I just put it right back in here. There's a little decusant packet that also comes in here, and I can show you guys that. It should just be at the bottom here. It also has a little tester sheet too if you want to test out the Infusible Ink before you put it on a project. But I just keep this little packet just to keep everything moisture free in there, and that just really helps keep it really nice for the next time that you want to use it. So I just plop everything right back in there, place it right back in the box so I know what color it is, and that is how I store it. Okay, so while it's cutting out, I will go ahead and weed my first little design that came off. So what I'm going to do is, what you want to do first is kind of bend and kind of just crack the Infusible Ink. It's kind of called crackling or cracking. And then what you do is you just use your fingers. You can use also the tweezer tool if you would like, but it's just recommended that you just kind of use your fingers. It's easiest for me. And then also just avoid using the weeding tool that you would just normally use, because that can actually scratch the Infusible Ink, which is not good, because then it will show your scratch on your final design. Also, I want to mention that this is the color it looks like here, but the color on the box is what it will actually look like once it's pressed. So when you open your Infusible Ink and it looks a little different than the box, don't panic, because it just means that it hasn't been pressed yet. So I'm going to go ahead and unload this one too, and I just like to go ahead and go backwards and just put my mat upside down and then peel this away, just so it helps it peel away nicely and I don't destroy it or anything, or risk hurting the design or anything. Okay, so now I'm going to load this one, and I like actually that I have to load them individually just because I can weed at the same time. It kind of gives me something to do while it's cutting. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this loaded, and it'll get cut out. Okay, and so back to weeding. So now what I'm just going to do is I just bend the material and then pop out my little letters. And it's really easy to do. You just bend and remove any part of the design that you do not want. Now, again, you can keep these little pieces that you remove, and you could do something else with them if you'd like. I think I need to replace my blade. I actually have one in the mail. I ordered the new foil system that just came out. I'm super excited. So while I was ordering that, I added a new blade to my cart, because I think it's just time to get a new blade. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue bending and peeling away my little pieces here. I'm just working on the little vine. And this little one had little middles in the design, but I'm actually going to let those go. They got a little bit small in this design, and so they're kind of a little difficult to weed out. So I'm going to go ahead and be okay with parting with those. They look just as cute without the little middles in there, so it's not a big deal at all. So again, I'll just continue on with my little letters here. Okay, so everything has been cut out, and so I'm just continuing to weed out my design, and a lot of them are pretty little pieces inside there, so it's taking me just a little bit, but once I get them weeded and then look at them, they are really worth it, all of the effort, because I think they're going to turn out really beautiful, and the designs are just so pretty. So I am just continuing to go through and take my time, being really, really gentle as I just kind of bend and peel and remove some of these little pieces from these little intricate cuts, but they're looking really good. Okay, so I have most of my designs weeded, and I'm just finishing up my last one. So I'm just going to take away the perimeter. This last one is the pumpkin, and most of them have been pretty easy to do. This one was quite a stinker, but I have a feeling that that one might be one of my favorites because it's just so pretty. So it was worth it. I kept telling myself it was worth it as I was weeding it out. And I cheated and actually did grab my weeding tool for a second or two and was just really careful, just because it's got super intricate. So I was just really careful and needed something really skinny in there just to help me along. So now I'm just going to take away, again, you can save these little pieces for this pumpkin if you'd like, but I'm just going to take away the pieces that I don't want in my design, which is going to be, in this case, the inverse, because I sliced this one out. And again, the reason I did that is because with Infusible ink, it's really nice to have your design in a way that the ink is going to be the most prominent thing on the coaster or on whatever you are infusing it onto. So that's why I decided to slice this out, so that I could have more of my coaster be of the ink instead of the white part. Okay, so this will be my little pumpkin. So they are all ready to go. So now what I can do is I can bring my little coasters in here, and what I'm going to do is I have a lint-free cloth, and I'm just going to, even though I just took them out of the package, it's recommended that you just rub over them and make sure that they are really clean and they don't have any lint on them. So you want to make sure, because if they do, once you apply the heat source, you are going to have a little blue lint that can burn onto the little coaster. And I haven't had it happen to a coaster yet, but I did have it happen to a shirt that I really thought I lint rolled really well. So you do want to be pretty diligent with this part and take your time, because it's very possible that you can miss some. So you want to make sure it's all clean. So those look good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and preheat my Easypress and make sure I show you guys the directions for doing so.
Okay, so on the heat guide, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Cricut Easypress 2. For my heat transfer material, I'm going to say Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. And then for my base material, this is where it's important to make sure you determine which one you're using. So I have the ceramic coaster. If you do have the square coasters, it's a completely different guide, and the temperature is different, and I believe, well, I can't remember if the temperature is different, but either the time is different or the temperature is different, but they are different instructions. So you want to make sure that you select the exact product you're using. So I'm going to go ahead and select the ceramic coaster and hit apply, and I need to preheat to 400 degrees. We're going to press it for 240 seconds with no pressure, and then you're going to let them cool completely, because they're going to be super hot before we take away the transfer sheet. I love this because it also shows you the stacking order, and one of the main things I want to point out is that the coaster is going to be face down and the little sheet is going to be face up. So you guys will watch me do that, but that was one of the most surprising things to me, was this little section right here. So putting the coaster face down, and then the heat press is going to go on the back of it. So I love this little stacking order. It's really nice, and then of course it reminds you of your supplies, and then it will walk you completely through it. So we'll go ahead and make sure everything is preheated, and then we'll get going.
Okay, so I have my Easypress preheated. And then one thing I also forgot to mention was the heat resistant tape. So it's very helpful to have heat resistant tape for this part of the process. You can find it in the description box below. I'll link it for you, and it's really, really helpful to have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my little design ink side down. So you want to make sure that the ink is facing down. Again, that's why you're going to want to mirror your image onto the coaster. And once you have it placed on the coaster, you can pull it back up if you don't have it aligned quite like you want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and align mine exactly how I would like it. And then what I'm going to do is I just kind of fold these little pieces over. And this is sticky, so it does a pretty good job with the adhesive, but I also add a little bit of tape as well. Okay, so again, with my little design right here on the top, I'm going to go ahead and just place a little tape on the back just to make sure that it's all not going to move at all, and it just is really steady. So I am a tape lover, so I like to just be really certain, because quite honestly, there's a lot of love and labor that goes into Infusible Ink coasters. They're really easy to do, but they can take a little bit of time as well. So I just want to make sure nothing goes wrong at the most important part. So those are down really, really nice. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next one. So again, I'm going to just center my little design ink side down on the coaster. Okay, so I have everything ready to go. I have my Easypress mat right here, and then I have a piece of cardstock. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my coasters with the ink side down. So I'm putting them face down onto my cardstock here. And the cardstock is essentially just protecting the Easypress mat from any ink that could potentially get on it. And so you just want to have a little barrier there. That's just a little added protection. So I'm placing them pretty close together because I want to make sure that my 9x9 can press all of them at the same time. So that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place the clean butcher paper right over the top of my little coasters. Okay, now I'm just going to grab my Easypress, and I'm going to make sure it covers all four at the same time really well. I'm just going to set it on there without moving it, and then it has no pressure, so you just click the button and then just let it count down. Okay, so while this is counting down, I'm just going to sit here and monitor it. Again, you don't have to do anything with it, but just place it on there. So you don't want to make sure it doesn't move around or anything. So you just want to monitor it while it sits there. But I'll answer the question. So it was sweet or salty, I believe, is what our question was, is if we crave sweet or salty. And okay, you guys, I can't answer this because I honestly crave both at different times, and I honestly kind of crave them one after the other. So if I have something sweet, then sometimes I need something salty right afterwards, or vice versa. So I'm not sure. I think I have to say I'm an equal 50-50 mix between both, but I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. I know a lot of you have a sweet tooth because of a few posts ago we were talking about our favorite cookies, and oh my gosh, that cookie post made me crave cookies so much. I'm going to have to start baking soon. Okay, so now that it is beeped, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it straight up, just like this, and I'm going to return my Easypress to its base over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this completely cool. So this is going to take a little bit. So I want you to know that this is super, super hot. You're nowhere near able to reveal it yet. So you're just going to want to make sure you let them completely cool. And then once they are cool and able to be touched, then you can go ahead and look and see how they turned out. Okay, so they've completely cooled, so I'm going to go ahead, and I've been so anxious to see how these turned out because I am so ready for fall, you guys. I'm not sure how you guys all feel about fall, but I just love this time of year, so I like adding little pieces of decor around my house as well when the seasons change. So this is just another little idea that I wanted to add. So the first one looks like this. Oh, that's really pretty. There's almost a variation though in my gray for some reason. Some of it is a little bit golden and some of it is a little bit gray. And normally that would probably be worrisome, but it actually looks really, really cool and fallish. So let's see how the others turn out, but I'm not sure that that was supposed to be intentional. I think it's all supposed to be the exact same color. Might have to do with my inker. I'm not sure if it was how I pressed it, but let's see how the next one turns out. Okay. Oh, this one looks really neat too. So this one kind of has like a little bluish look on it too around the sides. I'm not sure if that's like supposed to happen that way, but I'm not gonna lie, I think it's kind of neat. It kind of looks really cool. Okay, so the thing about Infusible Ink is if it all transfers, it is really, really neat because even if it has a little bit of variation in color, it still seems to end up looking really intentional. So we'll see how the rest of them turn out, but so far I really, really like them. Okay, so one of the things that makes this fun is that you don't really know which coaster is going to be revealed next unless you put them in a specific order. But let's see here. This one, it's like Christmas morning. You can't open them fast enough. This one is, ooh, this one's really neat. This was supposed to be a gray color, but it's turning out kind of like orange and gray and blue and but you know what? That's actually really neat and very fitting with the fall look. So, okay, what box is this? Warm gray. I wonder if my ink maybe isn't good because I feel like my press was spot on. But I have to admit that these look pretty cool. Okay, and the transfer looks even, so that is what's confusing. Okay, and then our final one is, ooh, this one. I forgot about this little guy. This was going to be one of my favorites. Oh, and I wanted to mention this one had a middle piece in these little leaves, and I ended up parting with them just as I did with this one because they just got really, really small, but I think they still look really, really neat. So I'm not sure if you guys remember that had like a little middle barrier inside, but they ended up looking really nice without. This one's really, really neat. They all look really cool. Do you guys see the variation in color? I'm not quite sure. Let me know if you guys have ever had that happen because it's supposed to just be gray, but I'm seeing like hints of gold and orange and gray in there. So I have to admit though, I don't know how to recreate this twice, but I'm really kind of thankful that this happened because I actually had another Infusible ink in mind, and I was trying to find something that was more of a burnt orange because it's just so fall and pumpkin-y, but I couldn't find anything that I really liked, so I'm kind of happy that this was a happy accident because these turned out looking really fallish, so I'm going to totally take this as a win. So let me know if you guys ever have that happened, and one of the things about crafting is that you could like totally you know, throw this video away and never show it, but I honestly love how these turned out. I think that they're really, really neat, and I think that they look really, really fun, and I think they look kind of fallish and kind of sunsetty. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think they turned out really, really sweet despite the color variation. I think it actually worked in my favor just because of the type of season that I'm doing. But if you want another Infusible ink coaster tutorial, I'll be sure to link it in the little top right corner, and be sure to also answer the question of the day. I love how these turned out. It's kind of really neat that the orange one turned out on the pumpkin one. But again, totally confused on why that happened, but I'm kind of going to take it as a win because I think they turned out really, really neat. Alright everyone, I hope to see you in the next video. Be sure to give this a thumbs up if you think these turned out pretty, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.